So I'll clear this and I'll show you another method you have available on arrays. The push method, which you saw earlier. If I push 4 and then I print this array again, well, you already saw this in a previous lecture. So what will show up in the console? Well, you see 1, 2, 3, 4. Push basically adds an element to the end of the array. And now, while technically here I could have achieved the same by accessing the element with the index 3, which is just the next element after 3. This, of course, is only theoretically the same, because in practice, oftentimes you don't know how long your array is, and you can't hard code indices which you want to access. Therefore, pushing with this method makes sure that the value is always added at the end of the array, and you're not accidentally overwriting values or leaving some empty spaces undefined thereafter. So this is what push does. And of course, this is very important, and you'll oftentimes use push in your code. What do you think will happen if I go to my array here and I'll add a comma here after, and then I'll leave this push method? So I'm kind of extending this array here with one extra element, which stays undefined since I'm entering nothing here, and then I'm pushing something. Will this be overwritten? Let's see what shows up on the console. So it looks like it got overwritten, but actually, if I remove this push method here and I print this again, you see it was never there in the first place. I need to add another comma here to create such an undefined space here. And now if I run array push 4 again, let's see what happens now. Well, the undefined space stays here, and instead 4 is appended to the end. So that's important to understand. Pushing does not occupy the next undefined space or element, it just takes the end of the array as you defined it and then adds a new element to it. Now we have another method than push, and I'll just replace this with 4 to make this look a bit nicer than undefined. I can also call pop, and this doesn't take any arguments. What could pop do? What could show up in the console now? We see 1, 2, 3. So the last element, 4, was taken off the array. And actually array pop returns this element. Therefore, I can print this method call out. And if I run this, you see 4, which is the element which was taken off, returned by this method call here. And then you see the new array without this last element. What if I don't want to take the last but the first element? We also got a function for this. It's called shift. If I run this, you see I get 1, which is the first element which gets taken off, and then I get 2, 3, 4 as the remaining array. And do we have kind of a push just with inserting it at the beginning of the array? Yes, it's called Unshift. And Unshift, of course, takes an element. Let's insert a string here. And if I hit run now, you see that now this new element is at the beginning in front of the first element. So it's the opposite of push in that way.